Okay, amazing. Welcome everyone. My name is Kim French and I am the founder of Edit Girls. And Edit Girls, as hopefully a lot of you know, but anyone watching this afterwards who doesn't, started as an Instagram account sharing career stories of women working in post-production, be it editors in commercial, editors on TV, assistant editors, and film editors. And this series of videos that we've started is called Career Chats, and the idea is to bring to life some of the written stories that we've been sharing and posting over the last few years, and do so as an event and pop the videos on YouTube. And today I am speaking to the lovely Jasmin John, who is an assistant editor, as well as an editor, but an assistant editor in high-end television, on shows like Tin Star, Becoming Elizabeth, and Liar season 2, which I have got completely obsessed with. And Jasmin is going to share her career story, and she's also going to talk about something called BWIPP, which stands for Black Women in Post-Production, which is an initiative and a platform that Jasmin's founded to promote women, Black women in post-production. So I'd love to hear more about that as well. So we'll start, Jasmin, if you could introduce yourself and just let people know a bit about what you do and your career so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Kim. That's such a lovely intro. So yes, I am a high-end TV first assistant editor. So I've worked on, as Kim mentioned, Liar Series 2, which I think the whole series has dropped on Netflix and Disney Plus recently, hasn't it? Yeah.
About halfway through, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I had to rewatch it as well. It's been quite a few years since I first watched it. So I've also worked on a feature film, actually. My first job was an edit trainee on Horrible Histories. And then since then, I've jumped into high-end TV. What else have I done? Becoming Elizabeth, that's landing in June, next month. I also did a small stint on The Midrid Cuckoos, which is also landing next month on Sky. The Pursuit of Love, that was on BBC. So I've worked across, a number of different productions for a number of different broadcasters.
And how long, like when did your sort of early on in your career, when did you work on Horrible Histories? Was that the first job that you worked on?
Yes, that was my very first edit trainee gig. That was back in, oh God, when was it? 2018, I think I first started in the industry. Yeah, that was an incredible first gig, and I haven't worked in features since. I've just been in high-end TV the entire time since. So, but I love high-end TV, so that's fine.
I'm gonna say, do you have a sense of like what you prefer? You're pretty happy with high-end TV?
Yeah, so from what I understand of kind of the difference in workflows between features and high-end TV is that you end up working on features for a lot longer, whereas I kind of jump from job to job in high-end TV anywhere between like 6 to 9 months. Every 6 to 9 months I'm on a new contract, and that kind of variation is really nice because you meet new people on every gig, and there's always like an adaptation to the workflow as well. So every broadcaster has a different way of doing things, and they have different deliverables. So I'm always learning something new as well. So that's really nice.
And then how does that, we'll go into a bit more like your day to day, but in terms of getting different jobs, I know people will be really interested to know, like how did you get Horrible Histories as an opportunity? And then how did things go from there? Like how did you get each opportunity if you say it's a contract?
Yeah, so my first gig, Horrible Histories, actually came about through the Screen Schools Trainee Finder Scheme. So I applied for that and got shortlisted, had an interview, and then I was on that for a year. And essentially they kind of have the networks and the contacts of these different production companies that are looking for trainees. And so they'll send you kind of a list of productions that are looking to bring trainees on board. And then you just put your CV forward, and then if they want to bring you on, they contact you. And then, so after Horrible Histories, my second trainee gig was Wild Bill for ITV. And that's quite interesting because I did the jump from film to TV only because I think at the time the high-end TV cohort of screen skills, they were busy. They were all taken up. So we were like, oh, let's open this up to film. And that's literally how I got my way into TV. I was like, oh, well, we've got some film trainees that need work. So from Wild Bill, I worked with an editor called Mike Jones, who actually just recently, we recently reconnected, so he just popped up after, how many years has it been, like 3. And he was on Wild Bill, and then he was going on to Liar Series 2, and they were looking for a second. So Mike was like, hey Jazz, do you want to come onto my next job with me? And he kind of literally stepped me up from trainee to second. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because I never thought I would go from like 2 trainee jobs to a second, like so quickly. But that was really nice, because it kind of felt like, you know, Mike especially saw some kind of capability there. He saw something in me, and that kind of potential, like, yeah, Jazz, you're totally capable of stepping up to second now. So that was really nice. That's why Liar's kind of special for me. It's one of like the special jobs.
It takes that one person, doesn't it, to kind of go, I see, yeah, you've got it in you, give you the opportunity, and it makes like, there's so much, and it's almost not as huge a thing for the person doing it as it is for the person that's given the opportunity. So everyone give those opportunities. So can you explain, you mentioned like a second, and again, I'll be honest, my experience is more in the commercial world. So understanding what that means in TV, could you explain a little bit about editor, first assistant editor, second assistant editor, trainee, like what does all of that mean?
Yeah, cool. So first assistant tends to be the kind of main port of call in the edit suite. So they'll kind of delegate to the second and to the trainee the duties that we need to do. They'll also be kind of the first point of contact for the editor as well, and basically look after all of the technical stuff so that the editor can focus on all the creative stuff. And then the second, so it really depends on the job. The second normally you'll delegate to, but a lot of the time with my seconds, I'll just kind of share the workload. If they're kind of feeling capable to kind of do a turnover or something, I'll be like, if you're happy to do that, I'm more than willing to give you that. And then I'm just there to support you. I don't really like to see it as like a hierarchy where you're lower down the chain as a trainee. It's like, hey, if you want to try doing a turnover, I'll help you do that, and you can learn at the same time. The other duties that are normally delegated to kind of a trainee to kind of get their hands on the Avid and stuff is sound effects work. So you might source sound effects for a scene for an editor, and music, maybe some archive if you've got some kind of graphics and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty much trainee, second, and then first, and we all kind of work together in the edit suite to support the editor.
I suppose it really does on something longer, and again, like coming from my commercial background, I'm used to that idea of an assistant, but it would always just probably be one, whereas the whole team that's needed to work on things that are an hour-long episode, or there's so much to it, isn't there? What parts do you love the most? Like, do you have a specific area that you just really love?
I mean, there's a part that I really don't love, and that's turnovers. Yeah. But no, I think when you kind of get the opportunity to be creative, if that's the route you want to go, so I do really want to step up to kind of editor. When editors give you the opportunity to cut, whether that's like recaps or promos or trailers, that's always really good fun. Yeah, turnovers are not my favorite thing.
So again, for people that don't know, what does that mean to turnover? Yeah, I'm going to ask you just like all of the layman's descriptions.
Technical, of course. Turnovers are essentially preparing the episode or the production for the vendors, so or other departments, should we say. So you'll do a turnover to VFX so they can work on the VFX shots. You'll do a turnover to online so they can conform it all, and then you see the kind of polished product on TV. You'll turn over to sound, and they'll work on the sound design, and they'll work alongside the composer to work on the music. So you're essentially just giving them the stuff that they need so that they can finish the show.
So it's the real kind of organizing, like, yeah, prepping the files. I remember, like, again, my editing days are a little bit long behind me, but when you'd prep things for the color grade, you would just sort of like flatten everything out and
Yes, exactly that.
you know, remove the sound and just give them what they needed. Okay, great. And when you say about like promos and like the recaps, how have you been able to do some of that? Like, what have you been able to work on some of those sorts of things as well with your series?
Yeah, I have. So on Tin Star, I was assembling recaps. I think it was episodes 3 and 4, I can't remember. And then mid-which I cut the recap for episode 4, thanks to a wonderful editor called Fiona, who actually stepped up on that show from assistant to editor for an episode. And so I came on to cover her as first for her episode, and then she was like, "Hey Jazz, do you want to cut the recap?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Yeah. So that was, I think I cut the recap for Ep 6 as well, but I left before that got locked, so I don't know if it stayed or if there are any changes. So yeah, I've done a bit of kind of recap cutting. I also cut on Midwich an internal promo for Sky. So yeah, there's been like bits and bobs that I've been able to do, and those are always really good fun. I really enjoy doing those.
Yeah, they I mean, especially now, like, I just feel like promos and stuff can be so creative. Like, there's so much opportunity to bring to life an episode in short form. So what have been, like, you know, in your, I mean, you've done so much in 4 years. Is it 4 years? Yeah, 4 years of your career. What have been some of your highlights?
Oh, that's a good one. What have been my highlights?
Yeah, not nice and anecdotal, like, you know, those moments.
God, that is a really good one. It's kind of tricky to pick one. I'm trying to think of like one that's kind of a you know, a massive highlight. I think Liar, the very special project. I did some temp ADR on that. And that's when it's like a fun kind of little thing that isn't, you know, it's not going to be broadcast or anything. That's kind of a really good experience, because you don't normally get to see that side of it. So when you're doing like temp ADR, and I was doing lines for Joe, that's really fun. Trying to think of like other really big highlights, but for me they're all of like the really little things that you kind of enjoy from project to project. I'll have a think. Back to
we can circle back around to that. So one thing I wanted to kind of understand as well is the relationship with the editors. So obviously Mike had brought you on from having known you through Horrible Histories and then bring you on Liar, is that right? Or
Mike knew me on Wild Bill, ITV drama, and then put me on to Liar. Yeah.
So how do you, what advice do you have about building that relationship with editors to ensure they remember you, to ensure that they bring you back? Because we all know, and again, a big part of what I really wanted to do with Edit Girls was make sure that there was like just a bit of a hub of people for, you know, for women who might not normally think that this is a career for them, to have a network basically. And everyone sort of, not everyone, but some people think, oh, networking, oh, I have to do that. What are your kind of pieces of advice? Obviously a huge part of your career was during lockdown, so what did that kind of all end up?
I mean, so for the early days, so before lockdown, kind of when I was working with Mike and when I was a trainee, I didn't know how to navigate the industry at all. So for me, it was just a case of getting stuck in. I wanted to show kind of, you know, that I was reliable, that I was really passionate, that I was really keen to learn. I remember on Horrible Histories, I think I was only on that for 6 weeks, but those 6 weeks, the assistant on there, Paul, he literally taught me Avid. And I was just there like constantly asking him questions like, so how do I do that? What does that button do? And things like that. And he was just like so willing to show me the ropes. In those 6 weeks I learned Avid because I didn't know Avid before that. And so it's just that thing of like not being afraid to ask questions and like kind of being that person of like, you know, I'm really passionate and I'm really keen, and just showing that. And when you're able to show that, people are like, hey, look, she really wants to, you know, go far in this industry, and she really is passionate about posts. So, you know, they kind of feel like, oh yeah, I want to help this person because they're so keen. And just being nice, I think. I think being nice was what got me jobs, because I didn't really know much at the beginning. So
people don't expect you to. I think that's the thing about asking questions, you know.
Yeah.
It's completely fine. I mean, even in my career, I'm doing like, I'm like, you still don't know everything and you have to ask the questions. So the fact that, yeah, that you really got under the skin of Avid in those 6 weeks is amazing. So moving on slightly, because I'd love to talk about BWIPP, Black Women in Post-Production, and what you're doing there, which again is like, shows people how passionate you are about the industry and about post, and obviously your own career, because it's a big investment to do all of that. So can you tell us a bit about BWIPP? Let you have a drink. I'm gonna have a little drink as well.
Yes, absolutely, I can. So Bewit is a network and enterprise for Black and Black mixed heritage women working or looking to work in post-production. So the idea behind it is very much like Edit Girls, really. It's just a platform that's like a supportive community that tries to create access and opportunity for you know, Black and Black mixed women. And so what I'm trying to do at the minute is kind of develop a standalone platform. So I'm trying to be a lot better at posting on Instagram. But I'm
not bad at all. Yeah.
I am trying. Where I'm trying to balance like assisting at the same time. I'm trying to get that balance of focus on video, focus on HETV. So yeah, I'm looking to launch a standalone platform for it and just creating that community there. So it will be a place where kind of production companies, producers, hiring professionals can actually tap into the network and say, hey, look, I want to diversify my workforce. And I have a go-to resource for that. That's what BWIPP's for. But equally, I kind of want it to be a thing where, hey, look, if there's people that just want to connect with Black women in post, then there's somewhere to go and do that. That's what BWIPP's for. I don't want it to be a thing of, you know, it's excluding anyone. It's not. I want kind of allies and advocates and, you know, people that just want to see more diversity in post just kind of come together and support the cause.
So anyone, like you said, both allies and advocates, but specifically, you know, Black women and Black mixed heritage women, where can they find you? Like, how can they?
Yeah, so at the minute we are active on Instagram, so that's at BWIPP Network. I mean, I do have a Twitter account, but I don't post on there. So like...
It's honestly, all these social platforms, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. But that's everywhere with BWIPP Network, and that's just all one word. And then our website is just bwip.co.uk. I think that's all. Yeah, we have a Facebook page, BWIPP Network also. But yeah, our Instagram is where I post the most at the minute.
Yeah, cool. So in terms of, again, your sort of 4 years, like, what are your aspirations? Where, you know, what's 5-10 years for Jasmin? Like, what's next?
Editing, definitely. I'd love to step up to assembly editor and then from there go up to editor. I have been thinking about stepping up further than that, because I kind of feel like the higher up you are, the more influence you have. So if I can kind of, you know, get into the level of kind of commissioning editors or, you know, somewhere along there, like post-production execs or something like that, just to kind of, you know, push that idea of let's increase diversity in the industry. So yeah, I'm kind of dabbling at the minute, as I'm trying to work on BWIPP at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Like, the higher up you get, you know, it's important to aspire to that, because you will have so much influence, but not forgetting how much influence you have where you are right now. And hopefully more people are properly listening. Again, I'm sure there are many challenges that you're facing with certain stuff, but I feel like now certainly space for BWIPP is, people need to engage. What have you, in terms of BWIPP, like, who's engaged? Like, what's the response been like?
So what I've found from Insta specifically is that it's actually appealing to entry level. So it's either those kind of looking to get into the industry, or they've just got their foot in and they're not sure how to navigate. And that's exactly what BWIPP's there for, to kind of help you figure that out. Because I know it kind of stems from my own experience, the whole origin story of BWIPP, and that when I started out as a trainee, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. And then when I was kind of in the industry, I didn't know like how to navigate it. I didn't really know how to network, and I was totally winging it. I didn't know how to go from job to job. So I was just so grateful that the people I was meeting, the editors and the post supers were like, hey, on my next job, we need this. Do you want to? And then they were stepping me up. And I think that's just what we need, is more people doing that. And so that's what BWIPP is kind of hoping to do.
And do you have any sort of success story, like people that have kind of come to you, and relationships that you formed through it? Because I know through Edit Girls, like some of the people I've met have just been incredible. So can you, like yourself, can you talk a little bit about some of the people that you've met through BWIPP and the impact that they've had on you?
Yeah, so I have had a success story. I reached out to a young Black female who was actually at the time on Screen Skills, but it was during lockdown, so they were having issues trying to get trainees onto jobs. And I reached out to her and I explained, the concept of BWIPP, and I said, hey, I've heard about you from my own network. I'm looking for a trainee on my current gig, which was at the time Becoming Elizabeth. I said, if you're available, if you're interested, let's jump on a Zoom. And we did. And then I recommended her to the team, and then she joined Becoming Elizabeth. So that was her first trainee gig.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And now she stepped up to second as well.
Oh, see, that's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, there it is, like kind of proof of concept, like networking gets you jobs. So yeah, that's a really good success story.
So what do you want to see then, like you said, of like commissioners, and what could people do to support what you're doing with BWIPP? Is there anything specific, like anyone watching this, it's all well and good following and engaging and stuff, but what are the extra things people can be doing to support what you're doing with BWIPP? So
I think the route I'm looking to take now is kind of partnerships and sponsorships. If there's any kind of production companies or any brands, think of like Avid or Premiere or people like that, companies like that would be really keen to kind of work with us. That would be amazing. So yeah. Anyone?
Avid,
yeah.
And then what about anyone like that wants to get involved to help you? Like you said, it's a lot of work doing all of this social posting and things. If there's anyone listening, I mean, I certainly know that people that have helped me in the background with Edit Girls, there are times where I do it myself, there are times when I get a bit of support. I've been really, like you with the trainee, just making efforts to try and help them get jobs, try and connect them with the right people. So I would say, again, if you were open to people helping you,
absolutely,
it's a really good thing to get involved in, because for them, as newcomers to the industry, it's an amazing way to network just by helping you do the social side. So I just
absolutely,
like doing an ad for you.
Something as simple as that can make all the difference. So anyone that's willing to do that.
So back to your career so far, can you tell us a little bit more about, and I'll open the forum to some questions. Anyone that's got any questions, by the way, please pop them into chat, and then we'll answer them as we go. So getting technical, like when a job starts, so what's been your latest one? Becoming Elizabeth, was that the last?
My latest one, I started yesterday, and today was the first day of rushes, and my head almost fell off.
This is it, right? Like, just for anyone, kind of, what is your day-to-day like? What does it take? What does it look like? I know every production is different, every show is different, but when you're at the beginning stages of a post job, what kind of things are you doing? For someone that doesn't know at all, what does it take to be an assistant editor?
So using this most recent one as example, we started preps, that's a lot of emails, about a week ago, and it's kind of getting everything set up and figuring out the logistics. So for us at the minute, we've got 2 editors on, 2 firsts. I'm working with a lovely assistant called Steph. And we are, for I think 5 weeks of assembly, we're all of us are remote. So we're all working with salon sink boxes. And then we're in cutting rooms for fine cut in Soho. So we're prepping all of that. We're trying to get all the boxes synced up, and we're figuring out what our Nexus workspaces are. And we had, I think, a prep day. So I was doing a conform test. So they did a camera test on set, and then I got all the rushes the next day, and then I had to do a test turnover almost. That was last week. Yesterday was the first day of shoot, so we didn't have any rushes, and it was, let's get the projects, the Avid projects ready, let's get our Avid settings ready, let's get the editor's preferences sorted, how do they like their bins laid out, can we get their settings saved onto the Nexus so they're ready to go when we start on Tuesday. So I felt like we were super prepared for today. We did everything that, you know, you'd expect us to do. And then we got like 75 or 80% worth of 50 FPS and 75 FPS, different frame rates of rushes that we had to respeed and sync up. And it took us a long time. It's been a long day, but you always have these kind of teething problems on the first day. So you just kind of troubleshoot it and work around it. And then we kind of got all of the dailies out. And that's pretty much it for the first day. So there's a lot of prep, and then it's all about getting the rushes out so that people can watch, because they're always super eager on the first day to see what's been shot.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, exactly. People breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
You said about editors' bins, how different little things that editors like, that you have to really get to know them personally, don't you, about how they like things organized. How different are they, or are they all quite similar, people that you've worked with?
So this current gig, both editors have very similar bin preferences, which makes it so much easier on us.
Yeah.
I did work on a show where like 2 editors had completely different preferences. And then when you've got a day where there's a double bank day, so they're shooting from both episodes or both blocks,
yeah,
your head falls off, because you're like, right, I've got to name it this way for this editor and this way for this, and you're going back and forth trying to figure out, oh no, I've named it the wrong way for the wrong editor, I've got to switch it around. So you've got to be on the ball constantly.
Yeah, and super organized.
Oh yeah, that's the top skill of an assistant editor, like being organized.
And then as you go through that process, then, so like middle of the product, like if something's 6 months to 9 months, what is it like kind of 4 months in?
4 months in, so we're normally at fine cut by then, and that's when so once we're past the rushes stage, essentially, everything gets so much easier. Because you've got kind of the director and the editor normally heads down, working on finessing the cut. And they might turn to you for like an export here or there, or they might turn to you for, sourcing some music or some sound effects. But it's pretty chill at that point. And that's really nice. And then it gets super hectic towards the end when you've got to start sending, doing the turnovers and sending to different departments. There's all these deadlines. We've got to TX at this date, so we've got to make sure they put it by this date so they can turn it over by that date. And so you've got like a really busy start, a really chill middle, and then it gets busy again at the end.
Yeah. And then when you're delivering things, like you said at the end, how many different, like in terms of, and this is something I don't know much about at all, because I know it's very different within the commercial world in terms of the export. Like, how long does it take to export an hour-long show? What does that kind of take in terms of, are you doing things overnight? How are you ensuring that things are delivered on time? Yeah,
so there's different deliverables, like I mentioned. So where there's like a QuickTime reference, like a standard .mov, if it's like a 40 minute episode, 40 to 50 minute episode, normally we'll do like a same as source export, so it's almost real time, so it takes about 40 to 50 minutes to export. If we've got a number of machines, that makes it so much easier. We'll set one doing like a 40-50 minute export, and then the other machine will do all the other deliverables. So we could like ping out the EDLs, the AAFs, that kind of thing. And then we've got everything done in like the hour.
Yeah.
And then we can ping that off.
I think I'm almost thinking, because I know that things have, I mean, certainly from when I started in commercial, it's like the things that took us so long, like rendering and stuff, is not even a thing now, right? Like you said, it can actually happen in real time and, you know, be super fast. We've got a question from Jemima. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So where is the best place to look for editing jobs, especially for entry level? So maybe tell us a little bit more about like places like Screen Skills, like where do you start when you're right at the beginning?
Yes, I would say Screen Skills is definitely a go-to. Not only do they have like Trainee Finder, they always have like a list of opportunities. I think they have an opportunities page, and it just lists a number of opportunities. I'd say there's a number of trainee schemes as well. Off the top of my head, there's Mama Youth is a scheme. There's also is it Sarah Putt? She's got a scheme as well, I think.
Oh, I don't know. It would be great if what we'll do is we'll write these down. I'll make sure they're in the bottom of the YouTube recording, but also send out an email afterwards with all of these. So
yes, I'll collate all of them for you.
Super helpful.
To look for jobs. I mean, sorry. No, you can.
I know Media Trust as well. They again, it's not specifically posts, and it's probably more in the commercial world, but Media Trust is a really great place for people to go to and have a look at what opportunities, and they do programs that people can join.
Definitely.
There's lots of stuff out there.
Equal Access. Film London, I think. They have a kind of email newsletter that you can sign up to. It's completely free, and then there's a number of opportunities there. There was another one. When I remember, I'll pin you the link. And
then what advice, because obviously you got that Screen Skills opportunity because you applied and you did an application, like what advice do you have for doing those kinds of applications? What sort of questions do you have to answer to get them?
I mean, I remember applying for it, and it was literally a week before the deadline, and I was just like, I've got nothing to lose, so let me just apply for it. And I was just like frantically filling out the application. I can't fully remember what the questions were, but it was something along the lines of like, what do you do to show you're passionate about editing, or whichever cohort you were looking to apply for. So being able to kind of demonstrate that passion is always going to help you. So if you've got like a website or a portfolio, or you're cutting short films on the side, which is what I did a lot of during uni. What else was there? I'm trying to remember. To 4 years ago of that application, but
no, I mean, I know it from, I think as well, having been both sides, like I like, again, a long time ago, like I did something with Endemol, and it was like I applied for it, like, and you have to show that you're passionate about it, because that's what's they're not going to expect you to have all the knowledge, but they are going to expect you to have the enthusiasm and passion for it. So we have a question from Lorna. What attracted you to the world of editing? Was it anything a particular film or program that inspired you to pursue a career in editing?
That's a great question. So I did work experience during uni. I think I did a 2-week placement at London Live. And then final year of uni, I did a post-production specialism unit. So I studied digital film production at Ravensbourne, and that covers everything. So we were doing group projects, and we had like DPs and directors, and nobody wanted to produce. So I was often the producer in the group project. And we didn't really specialize in editing, because there's a separate course for that. So then I chose post in final year as the unit, and then I cut a documentary and a trailer. And that's when I was kind of like, oh, hey, this is cool. And it's literally from there. It was my final year of uni. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just did that unit and I was like, yeah, I like this. I never really considered post as a career before that. It was just kind of hobby that I did.
You kind of get the bug, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
You sort of go, oh, I can really sort of do a lot. I can manipulate this story. I can form this thing. And
Yes.
just seeing the differences that a bit of music can make, or the way you move the shots around. Like, I just remember for me, it was kind of, yeah, a little bit of a spark sort of moment.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great question, Lorna. Beth has also asked, how would you advise moving across to high-end TV drama from factual? So I don't know, have you, did I see on your website that you've worked on any reality, did you work on a reality show as well? Or?
I did. I worked as a tech op at the farm, but it was a really short stint. It was like a couple of months as a kind of freelance thing. That's a really good question, stepping across, because I've had the kind of similar question in terms of stepping across from like digital to high-end TV, because I find that they differ quite a bit. Do you know what, it's interesting, all these kind of questions about moving across and also how to find jobs, and I always feel like it comes down to networking. It's always about who you know. You can obviously apply for jobs and things, but a lot of the time it's, hey, I can bring you in, or I know someone that can help you. Yeah. So I guess it's a case of networking. It's reaching out to people that work in high-end TV and saying, hey, look, I work in factual at the minute. These are the skills I can bring. Can you help me? It's just, yeah, it's literally just reaching out.
Yeah, and it's kind of, when I hear you sort of saying that, it's almost like there's so many pros and cons to all of it. You have to throw yourself in. If anything, the way in which historically it's worked, you know, I know that the nepotism that's kind of been that so-and-so's sons, you know, up for doing this because people know each other, is the reason that it becomes very homogenous, like everyone looks the same.
Absolutely.
But it's still important to kind of use it to your advantage. Like, the landscape is changing in terms of, you know, initiatives like BWIPP, but you still do need to have the connections. You can't, it doesn't work that you just do amazing work on your own. Like, the whole thing's a team effort, right? So you need to make connections with people. You need to put yourself out there, even if you're not necessarily massively comfortable with it. You just need to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when people say networking, it's like, oh, I don't want to network. I don't want to go to that networking event there. It's like,
schmoozing with a drink in your hand and all this.
Yeah.
That's not what networking is. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's kind of changing that and seeing that there's other ways to network as well. And it doesn't have to be Soho centric. It doesn't have to be a central London networking event. There's so many other ways you can network. I mean, me and you did it over Insta. We've never met in person.
Honestly, Instagram, especially with editors and visual craft-based stuff, like, reach out to someone's work that you admire. Something I've learned over the sort of years of doing Edit Girls is Instagram is definitely the space for a lot of branded content, commercial stuff, because they can share it there short form. Yeah. Whereas the TV editors, which is why, again, I know it's really hard, but it'd be great to get Bewit really on Twitter, is the TV and film editors are there. They're there talking about the awards, talking about the series stuff, and that's what I've noticed anyway. It's kind of like film and TV live on Twitter, and branded content commercial editors live on Instagram, or certainly show themselves to present themselves on Instagram, if that makes sense. Like, they're Instagram about their work.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think Facebook, although not very popular these days, there are quite a few Facebook groups.
The groups are great.
That are popular with assistant editors. I think there's one that's called like I Need an Editor Manchester, or the Northwest. So yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, get yourself on those Facebook groups. You know, see who's talking about what, and wherever you're based in, you know, the UK, and obviously things can be done remotely. there's a massive opportunity, isn't there? So yeah, use social to
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to pop.
They're really good questions.
Yeah.
Really good questions.
So I was actually, sorry, Lorna here.
Yeah, hi Lorna.
And thank you for answering my question, Jasmine. It's always good to hear how people started out. But I was just typing my second question, but I might as well just read it out. So I largely produce and edit corporate videos via Adobe Premiere Pro, and those are films that are uploaded onto various websites and shared across social media. Many moons ago, I was a researcher for BBC. I kind of left that world a long time ago, and I've got into editing. And I'd like to tip my toe back in, but I mean, it's a completely different landscape. And I just wondered, Jasmine, you've spoken about Avid. I've never used Avid, but I do use Adobe Premiere Pro. And I just wondered, how easy would it be to make that transition? You know, do you know if people in TV are actually using Premiere Pro, or is it best to maybe learn Avid and then get some experience doing Avid first?
Very good question. So I do know that, and so I think BBC 3, or at least they did before they went back on TV. I don't know if they do now, but when they were online, based online, they used Premiere. I went to the base in Birmingham, and they had a whole Premiere set up. Everywhere else I've worked, so mainly Soho on high-end TV productions, it's all been Avid based. Yeah, it's pretty much the industry standard, but I wouldn't say it would be very difficult to transition from one to the other. They're literally just different forms of software. They do the same thing. So, you know, there might be kind of different shortcuts on Avid compared to Premiere. But again, you can just adapt your workflow. So you can use the same keys that you use on Premiere for Avid. I think for me, the one thing going from Premiere to Avid was just the different interface. It just looks a bit different, or at least it did. We're using 2022 on my current gig, and I've been so used to the 2018 interface, so it's ever so slightly different. But once you've used it for a little while, you get completely used to it. So it just takes a little bit of an adjustment period. But otherwise,
it's good to know it's not that, you know, different. But yeah, I'll explore, because I've kind of like, Avid, no, that's going to be a big scary monster.
That's exactly what my reaction was. I was like, oh my, first time I saw Avid, I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? And then after 6 weeks, I was like, oh yeah, I know Avid. Yeah, press that button, it does this, it does that. It's, yeah.
Oh, that's
it
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
That's such a good question.
Yeah.
Are there any training courses or anything people can kind of try and access? I know that previously, and again, I'd love to catch up with you separately about how this has all gone, but the Master the Workflow course, was that helpful, like with Avid, or do you already need to know a bit about Avid?
Yeah, so that was incredible. Thank you so much for that, Kim. Yeah, that course was amazing. But it's aimed at assistant editors that already know Avid. So it doesn't teach you Avid, it teaches you tips and tricks and workflows and how to make your workflow kind of more efficient, more concise.
Master the workflow.
Yeah, exactly. So it's helped me massively. But I don't know if there's like an Avid training course. I know there's like loads of videos online. So, you know, you should go to Mandy, is it Mandy tutorials? I don't know, the names keep changing.
I don't know actually, but I'm certain Lorna, like on YouTube, there's so much with everything now, isn't there? I'm sure it's there, and I guess getting your hands on a trial, I don't know, it's Avid is a world that I don't know as much about as well, and I felt certainly the same, like, oh, it's like a beast.
Yeah.
But it's good to hear from Jasmine that it's doable. We have another question. Is there any program that you wish you'd had the chance to edit or work on? Is there a program out there you're like, oh, I wish I worked on that?
So I'm a really big Harry Potter fan.
Brilliant.
So I would have loved to have worked on the Harry Potter films. But then saying that, so I'm always kind of like, I would have loved that because I love Harry Potter. At the same time, I'm like, hang on, would that have ruined the magic for me if I knew exactly how they did all the VFX and stuff? I mean, I kind of know. I have an understanding of the VFX process from high-end TV work. It's like, if I would have worked on that, would it have ruined the magic for me? So then I'm kind of like, do I really want to work on my favourite shows? Because I kind of enjoy just watching my shows for the sake of watching them. And not because I've watched, you know, the cuts 7 times over and I've been watching the dailies for like 3 months.
You're absolutely right. It does take away the magic. It's kind of like, I remember first starting, because I did the TV course at Bournemouth, and it was like, I could not watch something without just analysing it, and it took the joy out of it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great question. And I think it's
Really
kind of, it shows that it's not always about, maybe it's about a type of show, and then you end up loving it because you watch it back a few years later, maybe when you've sort of forgotten all the, you know, nitty-gritty detail and the stressful moments, and you say, oh, actually this is really good, I'm glad I worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're kind of coming to the end of our time, so Jasmin, do you have anything else you kind of want to talk about, or let people know that you're up to next? Can you say anything about the current project that you're on, or under wraps?
Kim, I never know about these things.
I know.
I always have a caution. I'm like, I won't say what the show is. I probably can say it's a Netflix show. I probably
okay, great.
So yeah. So yeah, I'm on this until the end of the year, I think, and I'm just going to be trying to get BWIPP up and running by the summer. That's my target. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone's interested, follow us on socials, and share the word about it, and hopefully that will encourage me to get BWIPP out there quicker. Because all the support
people are waiting. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure, but it's also the pressure you put on yourself. And one thing that I sort of finish with, I suppose, is like, just make sure you're looking, like, it's such an intense job, what you're doing, and again, for anyone else like working in post, in any form of post, it's like, it can be really, really full on, and to do all the social stuff as well is a lot, so take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Put it better myself. Do take care of yourself. Take time out for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. I've loved this.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I've just got a question.
Yeah, of course. Go for
on
it.
your last point, Kim, about taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Jasmin, you were saying you're on this project until the end of the year. What are your hours?
They vary, Lorna, they do. I mean, I started at 8 this morning, and I was pretty much going solid until I jumped on for this call. We hardly stopped. I don't think we even stopped for lunch today. We were kind of nibbling in it, because it was a super manic day. But normally I would say, like, office hours tend to be kind of 9 till 6. I think when you're in the office, where we're remote, hours, they blur a little bit. Those boundaries blur a bit. When you're in the office, it tends to be in at 9 and you're leaving the office at 6. And then kind of self-care where you're on such a long contract. I mean, I literally just took 2 months off. So where I finished my last gig, I think it was like March, beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March, I just took 2 months off. But like in between that one and this one, I had the opportunity to kind of like take filler gigs, like, oh, we need an assistant to cover for 2 or 3 weeks. And I was just like, nope, I'm going to take some time off, because I was back to back last year, and I knew this one was going to kind of run for a little while. So I said, yeah, I need to take some time out. So I did. I took a couple of months off, and I flew to Spain spontaneously for like a 4-day weekend over Easter, just to kind of get away and have a real break.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so true. And also I think it's really important.
Pacing is good.
Pacing yourself. Yeah. So when you talk about such a long period of time, the reality is very intense at the start. Perhaps it kind of just becomes, you know, I mean, I'm certainly not advocating like not having lunch and doing overnights, but there are times, and hopefully you have a team, like a senior team, that recognize the need to care, like, you know, ensure that you know, people aren't burnt out, but it is a really difficult one to navigate, because you want to prove yourself, you want to make sure that people, you know, that the work is getting done, but then in that dip in the middle, it's just about, yeah, don't push yourself, look after yourself within that time, be ready for the end delivery side.
Yes.
Brilliant.
That's it.
And on that note, yeah, so I mean, again, follow BWIPP, follow Edit Girls if you're not following. There's lots of stories on there, women across all different sectors of post, and hopefully you find both inspiration but also connection, and reach out to those people that you admire. I doubt you'll ever get a no, I don't want to chat, but if you do, what's the worst that could, you know, happen? Brilliant. Thanks everyone. Have a lovely
Thank you so
evening.
much.
You're welcome.